One day, a cop pulls a van over, and when he walks up to the window, he sees 10 penguins in the back. The cop asks the man, "Are those your penguins?" The man says, "Yes, they are my pets." The cop replies to the man, "You need to take them to the zoo right now." So the man agrees and drives off. The next day, the cop pulls over the same van, and he walks up to the window and sees the 10 penguins all wearing sunglasses. The cop says to the man, "I thought I told you to take those penguins to the zoo." The man says, "I did. Today we are going to the beach." An old man goes golfing every weekend. His wife always complains about his going and leaving her alone. So one weekend he says, "Why don't you come with me, and I'll teach you how to play." She agrees, and on the first hole, a par 4 with a dog leg, she asks, "Okay, what do I do?" He says, "You see that flag way down there with that patch of green around it? You have to hit the ball onto that patch of grass close to the flag." So she swings and hits an amazing drive. The ball lands 3 feet from the hole. The man says, "That was incredible. Great shot." His wife asks, "So what do I do now?" So he says, "Well, now you have to hit it into that hole." The wife says, "Well, why didn't you tell me that to begin with?" A Frenchman seeking some thrills travels to Morocco and decides to go bungee jumping off the top of mosques. As he bounces back into the air, all of the passers-by in Morocco are in awe, and one Moroccan passerby decides that he wants to try it himself. He finds the Frenchman at a nearby cafe and sits down and remarks, "Wow, that looked really fun. Can you tell me about your stunts?" "Yeah, of course," the Frenchman replies. "It's called bungee jumping. All you need is 10 meters of sturdy rope in your set." The Moroccan is delighted to know that he doesn't need any qualifications and goes to buy some sturdy rope from a nearby store. After his purchase, he climbs to the top of a mosque, tethers the rope to a secure fastener, and jumps. But instead of bouncing up and down, he hits the ground at full speed and dies instantly. The Moroccan police launch an investigation and detain the Frenchman and the store clerk. The police ask the Frenchman what he taught the Moroccan, and the Frenchman says that he was precise in his measurements and doesn't know how he could have died. "I swear I told him to get only 10 meters of rope," he exclaims. "Oh, shit!" the store clerk suddenly exclaims. "He did ask me for 8 meters of rope, but because I know his cousins, I gave him 5 extra meters for free." An old fellow is walking down the road and sees a frog sitting in the grass. The frog says, "Hey there, if you kiss me, I will turn into a beautiful woman for you." The old man picks up the frog and puts it in his shirt pocket and keeps it down the road. About a mile down the road, the frog looks up at him and says, "Aren't you going to kiss me?" The old man says, "No, I don't think so." The frog says, "Don't you want a beautiful woman?" The old man responds, "At my age, I would rather have a talking frog." A boy starts his first day at Walmart. His trainer says to him, "I'll take care of the first 2 customers to show you how it's done, and you can look after the third." So the trainer goes to the first customer and says, "Can I help you, ma'am?" The lady goes, "I'm looking for some garden hose." Trainer, "Okay, 10, 20, or 30 feet. 30 feet. He takes her to where the hoses are and says, "After, can I interest you in a lawnmower?" "Why would I need a lawnmower?" "Well, you're going to water your grass, the grass is going to grow, and you're going to need to cut it. You'll need a lawnmower for that." "Actually, yeah, I do need a lawnmower." The boy at this point is amazed by his trainer's salesmanship. So now it's the boy's turn to help a customer. He goes up to this lady and asks, "Is there something I can help you with today?" "I'm looking for some tampons." "Sure, a 10, 20, or 30 pack. 30 pack. So the boy takes the lady to where the tampons are and says, "When you're done, can I interest you in a lawnmower?" The lady looks at him confused as she says, "What on earth would I need a lawnmower for?" "Well, your weekend's
might as well cut the grass.
A mental health facility offers supervised hobbies for its patients. They have access to painting, exercise, a small library, cooking, and all sorts of stuff. When they paint, they're often instructed to paint their mood or something they would like to see or do when they are released. Some paint melancholy things, dark with depressive imagery and muted colors. Others paint idealized scenarios of getting back together with old flames, doing normal things with their families, and that sort of stuff. In exercise, they can use stationary bikes or treadmills, medicine balls and yoga, all the usual things you'd expect, sans, metal weights, and resistance bands. The library is lacking, mostly due to little by way of literature being approved as safe for the patients to read. Mostly lighthearted stories, YA, educational text, and stuff that would only offend your sensibilities by being a horrible bore. Cooking is interesting, sort of. They serve the same thing for dinner every single evening, a casserole. It's rather underwhelming in flavor, but each night a different patient is allowed to make the cheese and herb crumble for it. What's interesting about that is that, without fail, every patient puts the crumble on the very bottom of the casserole, never on top. None seem to have a reason for it, nor do any of the staff know when it became the norm around there. By the time the food is done cooking, the would-be topping has lost all crispness to it. But hey, that's how the kooky crumble. A journalist went to Morocco to interview a 70-year married couple. He had heard they never had a fight and wanted to know their secret for the happy relationship. "Well," started the man, "on the day of our wedding, after the ceremonies were completed and all the guests left, my bride rode our donkey and I walked beside them to go back home. After a few minutes, the donkey slipped and nearly threw my bride off, so I said to him, 'Ass, this was your first mistake.' An hour later, when we were in the middle of the way, he slipped once more. So I said to him, 'Ass, this was your second mistake.' Finally, when we were nearing home, he slipped once more, so I got my bride off his back, took out my shotgun, and put him down. My bride was hysterical. She started screaming at me and slapping me and saying she married a madman. So I said to her, 'Wife, this was your first mistake.'" A husband comes home to his wife after being fired from the pickle factory. His wife asks him, "So what happened?" The husband explains, "I often get bored at work, and today my mind was wandering, and I thought to myself, what would happen if I stuck my inside the pickle slicer?" The wife is clearly blindsided by this confession and doesn't know what to say next. Eventually, she says to him, "That was an incredibly stupid and unsafe thing to do, but at least you're all in one piece." The husband appreciates his wife's response and says, "I suppose you're right." To lighten the mood, the wife asks her cheerfully, "So what happened to the pickle slicer?" The husband takes a moment and says, "Oh, she was fired too." Robert Plant, Paul McCartney, and Mick Jagger convene once a year to discuss all the great foods they've found traveling the globe on tour. Robert is the first to excitedly reveal his big find. He takes out a little pie tray from a brown paper bag and places it on the table. It's a pastry of some kind from Tanzania. It's akin to what we call a quiche, but it uses yak cheese and quail eggs instead. "Fascinating," says Paul, who is next to present his favorite foreign food to the group. He pulls a tiny vial out of his pocket and places it on the table. "Well, Rob, this is a lavender extract that the people of Nauru use to flavor their baked goods. It's incredibly expensive to make, but well worth it." "Lavender in a muffin? Amazing," says Plant. Both Robert and Paul wait in eager anticipation of what Mick's brought to the group, as his band tours the world to a degree neither Paul nor Robert has ever seen. Mick reaches into his pocket and pulls out a smushed, crumbled-up dinner roll. "It's from Morocco," he says. Robert and Paul are stunned, in amazement, unable to find the words to express their disappointment. "Look," says Mick, "I know it's only a Moroccan roll, but I like it. I like it. Yes, I do." A man goes to the doctor because his penis has turned orange. After a thorough physical examination, "Doctor, we can't find anything physically wrong with you that would turn your penis orange. I'll be honest, I've never seen anything like this. Perhaps it's a psychological issue? Have you been under a lot of stress lately, maybe at your job?" "Well, I did just get laid off." "Well, there you go. Maybe that's it." "No, that can't be it because I got a new job soon after. It's great. I have way better hours and I'm making more money than I ever have." "Oh, well, what about at home?" "I did go through a divorce recently." That could be it then." "That can't be it either because I just started dating someone who is gorgeous and way better to me than my ex ever was." "Well, I don't know what to say. What do you do for hobbies?" "Oh, I mostly sit around watching porn and eating Cheetos." A wealthy lawyer was riding in his limousine when he saw two women along the roadside eating grass. Disturbed, he ordered his driver to stop, and he got out to investigate. He asked one woman, "Why are you eating grass?" "We don't have any money for food," the poor woman replied. "We have to eat grass." "Well, then, you can come with me to my house, and I'll feed you," the lawyer said. "But, sir, I have a husband and 2 children with me. They're over there, under that tree." "Bring them along," the lawyer replied. Turning to the other poor women, he stated, "You come with us also." The second woman, in a pitiful voice, then said, "But, sir, I also have a husband and 6 children with me." "Bring them all as well," the lawyer answered. They all entered the car, which was no easy task, even for a car as large as the limousine. Once underway, one of the poor fellows turned to the lawyer and said, "Sir, you were too kind. Thank you for taking all of us with you." The lawyer replied, "Glad to do it. You'll really love my place. The grass is almost a foot high." A man decides to take the opportunity while his wife is away to paint the toilet seat. After he finished, he headed to the kitchen to raid the refrigerator. The wife comes home sooner than expected and heads to the bathroom, sits down, and gets the toilet seat stuck to her rear. She becomes upset and in a panic shouts to her husband to drive her to the doctor. She puts on a large overcoat to cover the stuck seat, and off they go. When they get to the doctor's office, the man lifts his wife's coat to show their predicament. The man asked, "Doctor, have you ever seen anything like this before?" "Well, yes," the doctor replied, "but never framed." A cucumber, a pickle, and a penis are walking down the street talking amongst themselves about who has the hardest life. The cucumber says, "I have the hardest life. Whenever I get big, thick, and juicy, they chop me up and put me into salads. It's horrible." The pickle and the penis start giggling. The pickle replies, "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. When I get big, thick, and juicy, I get stuffed into this super small jar filled with vinegar, and I sit on a shelf for months. That has to be the worst life out there." The penis starts smiling and shaking his head. "Oh, what? How can life get any harder than that?" the pickle asks. The penis replies, "Every single time that I get big, thick, and juicy, I get shoved into this dark, smelly hole, and I'm forced to do push-ups until I throw up." A priest dies and arrives in heaven. Here, a couple of angels greet him, shake his hand, and welcome him. A few moments later, a drunken Peruvian bus driver appears. He is welcomed with a celebration, fireworks, and God himself comes to welcome him. At this point, the priest, somewhat offended, approaches God and says, "Excuse me, I served the church and your name for an entire lifetime, and I am welcomed worse than this man?" God responds, "Your church was never full, my child, but when this man was driving on the streets of Peru, people prayed like never before." One fine evening, a man wearing a large overcoat walks into one of the city's most expensive bars. He heads straight to the bar counter, leans over, and tells the bartender, "I don't have any money, but is there a chance you can give me a free beer?" Bartender said, "Huh? No way. Don't even think about it." Well, if I show you something amazing that you haven't seen before, then will you give me a free beer?" "Well, if it is something really amazing, then yes, I might." The man reaches for the left pocket of his overcoat and carefully pulls out a mouse. He places it on the bar table. Then, from his right pocket, he pulls out a tiny piano and a stool and puts those near the mouse. The mouse gracefully sits on the stool and starts playing the piano. It plays everything from classical music to jazz, and the bartender is stunned. In no time, all other patrons in the bar gather near the bar table in astonishment as they watch the mouse play. "Whoa, damn," says the bartender. "I have seen nothing like this before. Here is your free beer." The man smiles and relishes his beer. After he finishes it, he again leans towards the bartender and says, "Well, you were surprised at that, weren't you?" "Oh, yes, that was astounding." "If I show you another amazing thing, will you give me 2 free beers?" "Of course, but this one has to be even more amazing, I tell you." The man again reaches for his pocket and carefully takes out a frog and puts it on the bar table. The frog stands on its hind legs, looks at the bartender, and suddenly starts singing in a human voice. As the mouse keeps on playing the piano, the frog keeps on singing all types of songs, jazz, blues, pop, everything. On seeing this, the crowd goes crazy and the bartender's jaw drops. He gives the man 2 beers and says, "What on earth is this? I have never seen a singing frog ever in my life." As the man smiles and sips his beer, a smart-looking guy wearing an expensive suit walks up to the man and says, "Hey, I'm a businessman and I'm surprised by this singing frog. I shall pay you $200 for it right now if you wish to sell it to me." The man thinks for a while and says, "Fine, take it. It's yours." The rich guy immediately pays him $200, takes the frog, and rushes out of the bar, overjoyed at the deal he just got. The bartender looks really surprised and says, "What? Are you mad? You sold that singing frog for just $200? Man, it could have gotten you at least $2,000. Why did you sell it for such a low price?" The man keeps sipping on his beer and smiles. Then he slowly leans towards the bartender and says, "Well, I didn't lose anything in that deal. You see, the mouse, it just doesn't play the piano, it is also a ventriloquist." A calligrapher died peacefully in his sleep. He soon woke up in a land of paradise. He spent the next few days exploring. Heaven was exactly as he imagined. Pristine rolling hills, golden castles upon cloud tops, reunions with lost loved ones, and endless opportunities to explore one's hobbies. He had access to the finest selection of inks and paper, so he continued to hone his craft, even in death. The calligrapher would rotate his time between practicing his calligraphy and exploring what more heaven had to offer. At some point, however, he noticed something. No matter where he went, no matter what activity he engaged in, he saw no angels fluttering about. It was strange, he thought, that everything else he was told about heaven ended up being true. But angels were such a strong point of emphasis in the scripture. He asked around, and no other resident had seen any angels either.
He continued about his days as normal, but he couldn't help but be bothered by this small detail. How could every other aspect of heaven be real, but not the entities that were supposed to chaperone it? As he pondered, he suddenly heard a knock on the door. "Who is it?" he asked, somewhat annoyed. "It is I, God," said he on the other side. The calligrapher hurriedly opened the door. "Oh my, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "It is all right, my son," God said. "I am only here to check on you. I like to meet with all of our new residents after they have settled in." "It's an honor, truly," said the calligrapher. "I'm a huge fan of your work." God gave a hearty laugh. "And I yours. I'm always impressed with the craftsmanship of all my children. You know, they say that when an artist gets entrenched in their craft, it is as though they are experiencing a slice of heaven in that moment." The man thought for a second. "You know, I'd be inclined to agree. So I suppose the inverse is true, is it not? Doesn't heaven remind you of the most beautiful scripts you can imagine?" He hesitated to respond. "I'm not sure about that." God looked surprised. "What is wrong, my child?" he asked. The calligrapher sighed. "Well, heaven is great and all, but it's sans serifs."
So, aliens come to Earth, and they're so nice. There's a huge televised event with all the world leaders in attendance. The Pope asks, "Do you know of Jesus Christ?" The aliens say, "Do we ever? Awesome guy. Swings by the planet every couple of years to say hi." The Pope exclaims, "Every couple of years? What? We're still waiting for his second coming." The alien replies, "Maybe he didn't like your chocolate?" The Pope is flabbergasted. "What does chocolate have to do with anything?" The alien says, "Well, when he came the first time, we gave him a huge box of chocolates." "Why? What did you guys give him?"